You ever notice how quiet it gets right before something unforgettable happens? Not the fake kind of quiet. Not the polite claps. Not the empty noise people make just to feel alive. I'm talking about that heavy silence. The kind where every single eye is locked on you.
Waiting, watching, judging.
Yeah, that moment.
Most people break there. Their voice shakes. Their mask slips. They start begging for approval without even realizing it. But you didn't flinch. You stood there like chaos was your natural habitat, like pressure was something you breathe in for fun. Every word you dropped hit like it was calculated, surgical, brutal in the cleanest way possible. And those Dusties, they came in loud, cocky, thinking they could shake you, rattle you, pull you down into their little circus. But you didn't play their game, you rewrote it. You turned their noise into your rhythm, their doubt into your spotlight. And while they were busy underestimating you, you were already 10 steps ahead, dismantling them piece by piece without even raising your voice. That wasn't luck. That wasn't chance. That was control, pure, unapologetic control. You ever stand in that moment, when everything just stops? Not because the world is calm, but because it's waiting, watching, measuring you without saying a word. That silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It's pressure, expectation, doubt, all wrapped up in a quiet so thick you can almost hear your own thoughts trying to betray you. Most people panic there. They rush to fill it. They start talking too fast, too loud, trying to prove something before anyone even asks for proof. They think noise is power. It's not. It's desperation wearing a cheap disguise. Real control starts when you don't rush to break that silence. When you let it sit. When you let them sit in it with you. Because that's where the game flips. The second you stop being afraid of the quiet, it starts working for you. Every second you hold it, you're pulling attention tighter, sharper, like a noose they don't even realize is closing. Their eyes stay on you longer. Their thoughts get louder. They start wondering what's he about to do, what's coming next. And just like that, without saying a single word, you've already taken control of the room. See, silence exposes people. It strips away all the fake confidence, all the rehearsed lines, all the little masks people hide behind. Most can't stand it. They fidget. They look around. They crack. But if you can stand still in that moment, if you can breathe like it belongs to you, then you're not just in the room anymore. You own it. You become the center without asking for permission. That's what they don't teach you. That power isn't in what you say first. It's in when you decide to say it. And the longer you hold that silence, the more dangerous you become. Because now, every word you're about to drop carries weight. It's not just sound anymore. It's impact. It's precision. You're not reacting to the crowd. You're controlling the rhythm of their attention. You're deciding when they lean in, when they feel tension, when they feel release. You're not performing for them. You're playing with them. Most people try to dominate with volume. They think louder means stronger. But real dominance is quieter, colder. It's the ability to stand there, say nothing, and still have everyone locked in like you've already said everything. It's knowing that you don't need to chase attention, because attention is already trapped, waiting for your next move. That silence, it's not your enemy, it's your weapon. And once you stop fearing it, once you start owning it, that's when people stop seeing you as just another voice in the crowd and start feeling something they can't explain. Something that makes them listen whether they want to or not. Pressure, a funny thing, isn't it? People talk about it like it's some kind of monster lurking in the shadows, waiting to crush you the second the spotlight hits. They feel it creeping up their spine, tightening their chest, scrambling their thoughts until everything they planned just falls apart. You can see it in their eyes, that little flicker of panic, that moment where control slips and instinct takes over. That's when they start reacting instead of deciding. That's when they lose. Because pressure doesn't actually break people, it exposes them. It reveals what's underneath all the confidence, all the talk, all the pretending. And most people, they're not ready for that. They've been comfortable too long, rehearsing in safe spaces, convincing themselves they're in control, until reality walks in and demands proof. And suddenly, they're not leading anymore. They're chasing. Chasing composure, chasing words, chasing anything that makes them feel like they're not drowning. But you don't treat pressure like an enemy. You don't fight it. You don't run from it. You don't let it decide your next move. You let it in. You let it sit right there with you, breathing the same air, trying to get a reaction, and you give it nothing. No panic, no rush, no cracks. Just control. Cold, steady control. See, reacting is easy. Anyone can react. Someone throws doubt at you, you defend. Someone tries to shake you, you tense up. That's instinct. That's survival. But control? Control is different. Control means you pause when everything inside you is screaming to move. It means you choose your response instead of letting the moment choose it for you. It means you understand that pressure isn't something happening to you. It's something you can bend. And once you realize that, everything changes. Now pressure becomes fuel. That tight feeling in your chest, that's energy. That racing heartbeat, that's momentum waiting to be directed. While everyone else is trying to calm down, trying to escape the moment, you're stepping deeper into it. You're using it, sharpening your focus, slowing everything down while the world feels like it's speeding up for everyone else. That's where the gap forms. That's where you separate yourself. Because while they're reacting, you're deciding. While they're stumbling over words, you're placing yours exactly where they hit hardest. While they're overwhelmed by the weight of the moment, you're carrying it like it was built for you. And the craziest part, from the outside, it looks effortless, like none of it is even affecting you. Like pressure just doesn't exist in your world. But it does. You just don't let it control the narrative. You become unpredictable in the calmest way possible. You don't rush when they expect you to rush. You don't crack when they expect you to crack. You hold your ground, steady, deliberate, almost unsettling in how composed you are. And that's what gets inside their heads. Because now they're not just dealing with pressure anymore. They're dealing with you. Chaos, people love to pretend they hate it. They act like they want everything clean, predictable, under control. Nice plans, neat outcomes, safe little boxes where nothing unexpected ever happens. But the truth, the moment chaos shows up, most of them fall apart. Because all that control they thought they had, it was fake. It only worked when nothing pushed back. Chaos doesn't ask for permission. It walks in loud, messy, unpredictable, flipping the script, tearing apart plans, exposing every weakness you tried to hide. It's the moment when things stop going your way, when people start doubting you, when the environment turns hostile, and nothing feels stable anymore. That's where most people lose themselves. They start reacting emotionally, making rushed decisions, swinging wildly just to feel like they're doing something. But all they're really doing is proving they never had control to begin with. But you don't resist chaos. You study it. You watch how it moves, how it disrupts, how it throws everyone else off balance. And instead of getting dragged into it, you start shaping it. You realize something most people never understand. Chaos isn't random. It just looks that way to people who can't read it. Underneath all that noise, there's a pattern, a rhythm, and once you see it, you can start playing with it. That's where calculation comes in, not the obvious kind, not stiff, robotic planning that breaks the second something changes. Real calculation is fluid. It adapts. It shifts with the moment without losing direction. You're not trying to force chaos into a plan. You're building a plan that thrives inside chaos. Every move you make isn't rushed. It's intentional. Every reaction you don't give is just as powerful as the ones you do. While others are overwhelmed, you're observing. While they're scrambling, you're positioning. You're letting them exhaust themselves, letting them reveal their patterns, their habits, their desperation. And then you move. Not wildly, not emotionally, but precisely. Like you've been waiting for that exact moment all along. That's what makes it unsettling. Because from the outside, it doesn't look like you're surviving chaos. It looks like you're controlling it. Like the mess, the noise, the unpredictability. It's all part of your design. They can't tell where the randomness ends and your intention begins. And that uncertainty, it eats at them. It throws them off even more. You stop being someone caught in the storm and start becoming the storm itself. Every disruption becomes an opportunity. Every unexpected turn becomes a setup. You take what was meant to break you and turn it into something that builds pressure for everyone else. And the more chaotic things get, the more comfortable you become. The more dangerous you become. Because now you're not just reacting to the environment, you're shaping it in real time. You're turning disorder into structure, noise into strategy, confusion into clarity. And while everyone else is trying to escape the chaos, you're right there in the middle of it, calm, calculated, completely in control of what comes next.
Doubt it's everywhere, isn't it?
Floating around in the air like a bad smell no one wants to admit is there. People don't always say it out loud, but you can feel it. In their looks, in their smirks, in the way they whisper just loud enough for it to reach you. They size you up, measure you against their own limits, and decide what you're capable of based on what they could never do themselves. And the funny part, most people let that get to them. They shrink, hesitate. Second, guess every move like those opinions suddenly became facts. That's where they lose. Because doubt, it's not actually about you. It's a projection. A reflection of their own fear, their own insecurity, their own inability to step into the kind of pressure you're standing in. But instead of seeing it for what it is, most people absorb it. They carry it. They let it weigh them down until it becomes part of their identity. And once that happens, they start playing small without even realizing it. But you don't carry it. You use it. Every look, every whisper, every quiet assumption that you're not enough, it doesn't slow you down, it sharpens you. It turns into fuel. Not the loud, explosive kind that burns out fast, but something colder, more controlled. Something that sits beneath the surface, pushing you forward without needing to be seen. You start to understand that doubters are predictable. They always show up at the same moments, right before something big, right when the pressure rises, right when the stakes get real. They don't believe in you because they don't understand you. And that lack of understanding, that's your advantage. Because while they're busy underestimating you, you're operating without resistance. They're not preparing for you. They're not adjusting for you. They've already decided you're not a threat, and that's exactly what makes you dangerous. You don't argue with them. You don't try to prove them wrong with words. That's what they expect. That's what everyone does. Instead, you let them believe whatever they want. You let them stay comfortable in their assumptions. And then you move. Quietly, precisely, effectively. Every action you take starts hitting harder because they didn't see it coming. Every step forward feels bigger because they never thought you'd take it. And slowly, that doubt they had, it starts turning into confusion, then discomfort, then something heavier they can't ignore anymore. But by the time they realize it, it's already too late. Because you're not reacting to their doubt, you're building off it. You're using it as a baseline, a starting point that makes your rise look even more dramatic, even more undeniable. The lower they place you, the higher you appear when you move, and that contrast, it amplifies everything. You become the contradiction they can't explain, the one they dismissed now controlling the room. the one they overlooked, now impossible to ignore. And the more they try to make sense of it, the more it unsettles them. Because it forces them to confront something they've been avoiding the whole time. That they were wrong. And you never had to tell them that. Unpredictable, that's the word that makes people uncomfortable. Not loud, not aggressive, not even powerful. Unpredictable. Because people can deal with strength. They can prepare for confidence. They can even counter aggression if they see it coming. But something they can't read. Something they can't map out in their head before it happens. That's where control starts slipping through their fingers. Most people are easy to figure out. They follow patterns without even realizing it. Same reactions, same tone, same rhythm. You push them a certain way, they respond exactly how you expect. It's almost boring. You can see their next move before they make it. And the more predictable they are, the easier it is to control them. But you don't give anyone that comfort. You don't react the way they expect. You don't follow the script they've already written for you in their minds. When they think you'll speak, you stay silent. When they think you'll hesitate, you move. When they expect emotion, you give them calm. And when they're ready for calm, you shift the energy completely. Not randomly, not chaotically, intentionally. Every switch, every pause, every move is placed exactly where it disrupts them the most. That's the difference. You're not being unpredictable for the sake of it. You're being unreadable with purpose. Because once people can't read you, they can't prepare for you. And when they can't prepare, they start second-guessing themselves. Their confidence weakens. Their reactions slow down. They start thinking instead of acting, and in moments that require instinct, that hesitation costs them everything. You create that hesitation. You become the variable they can't control. The factor that doesn't fit into their calculations. And the more they try to figure you out, the more you slip through their understanding. It frustrates them. It throws them off balance. It forces them into a position where they're no longer leading the situation. They're reacting to you. And that's where the shift happens. Because now, you're not just part of the moment, you're dictating it. Every move you make carries weight, not just because of what it is, but because they didn't see it coming. It hits harder, feels sharper, lingers longer. And even when you're not doing anything at all, there's tension. There's anticipation. They're waiting, watching, trying to predict your next step, and that uncertainty keeps them locked in. You don't need to be loud to dominate. You don't need to show everything to prove anything. In fact, the less they understand you, the more control you have. Mystery becomes your advantage. Silence becomes your tool. Timing becomes your weapon. You choose when to reveal something and when to hold it back. You decide when to accelerate and when to slow everything down. And because there's no clear pattern, no obvious rhythm, they can't keep up. They're always a step behind, always reacting just a little too late. And the more they try to catch you, the further ahead you get. Not because you're faster, not because you're stronger, but because you're operating on a level they can't predict, can't anticipate, can't control. And that's what makes you untouchable. Validation, that sweet little addiction people dress up as confidence. They crave it without admitting it, chase it without realizing it, depend on it like oxygen. A nod from the crowd, a clap at the right moment, approval wrapped in noise. That's what most people build themselves on. And the second it's gone, so are they. Their energy drops, their voice weakens, their presence fades like it was never real to begin with. Because if your strength comes from being seen, it disappears the moment no one's looking. That's the trap. Most people walk into a room already asking for permission. Not out loud, of course. They'd never admit that. But it's in the way they speak, the way they move, the way they constantly check the room for reactions. They adjust themselves to fit what they think people want. They water down their words, soften their edges, all just to stay accepted. And in doing that, they lose the one thing that actually makes them powerful: authenticity without fear. But you don't ask. You don't look for approval before you act. You don't measure your words based on how comfortable they make others feel. You speak because you decided to speak. You move because you chose to move. And whether the room agrees, disagrees, or stays completely silent, it doesn't change you. That's where real dominance begins. Because when you don't need validation, you become dangerous in a way people don't expect. You're not tied to their reactions. You're not controlled by their opinions. Their applause doesn't elevate you, and their silence doesn't diminish you. You exist on your own terms, and that independence, it unsettles them. They don't know how to handle someone who isn't performing for them. At first, they test you. They hold back reactions, they stay quiet, they try to see if you'll crack, if you'll start chasing their approval like everyone else does. But you don't. You stay the same. Steady, grounded, unaffected. And that's when the shift starts. Because now they're the ones reacting to you. They lean in, not because you asked them to, but because they feel something they can't quite explain. It's not about liking you or agreeing with you anymore. It's about the presence you carry, the certainty, the lack of need. You're not there to impress them, and somehow that makes you impossible to ignore. You stop being part of the crowd and become something separate from it. Your words hit differently because they're not filtered through fear. Your actions carry more weight because they're not dependent on approval. And every moment you hold that energy, every second you refuse to bend to the room, you reinforce something powerful. That you are enough without their permission. And that realization, it spreads because people start questioning themselves. They start noticing how much they rely on validation, how often they adjust, how quickly they fold under pressure. And standing next to someone who doesn't, it forces them to confront that weakness. You don't need to call it out. You don't need to explain it. They feel it. And the more they feel it, the more control you gain.